everyone. How are you? Hope you're well. Doesn't actually tell me. Does it tell me how many people are in here? Chat. Then miss a comment. Click on a chat message displayed on screen. Cool. Restreamer has put into the chat. All right. 7:31. 1 minute past. Let's jump straight in. The goal of today, the goal of tonight, is to kind of like go over a few common fitness things, fitness myths, fitness or like gym things you might have been told or might have heard, and just trying to like talk about them, debug them, give a little bit of context to why they might have been said, what they might mean, and then kind of give you an avenue as to where to go forward in future. So if at any time you have any questions about what I'm saying or want to go into a little more, there is a chat function in this studio. Alternatively, just chuck in a WhatsApp and then we'll go through all of it at the end. I'm probably not going to see it as I go because I'm just going to be like locked in. But I'll do my best to answer them after. And then if you think of things afterwards as well, we can definitely go over that. But yeah, cool. So Mythbusters, I've got 14. So if you have any that pop up, please put them in. But first one first, this was asked by Steph. Does mass move mass? Does size equal strength? So the common myth, the common thing we said, mass moves mass. And very often we see this occur. Bigger people tend to be able to lift bigger weights easier. Okay. But size does not equal strength. So just because they're bigger does not mean that they are necessarily stronger. And just because they are bigger doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to lift more weight. Okay. So size does not equal strength. Bigger muscles have a greater potential for force production, which makes sense. If you have a bigger car engine, that car engine has more capacity to have more horsepower, more energy. So a bigger muscle theoretically has the ability to create more force, right? And so when we're talking about strength, when we're talking about lifting weight, when we talk about movement, we do that via force production. Yeah, so it's the muscle contracting, relaxing, contracting. It's the muscle recruiting motor units to create that force, right? So if the muscle's bigger, theoretically you can create more force. And so when we look at someone bigger, they will have bigger muscles. Yeah, they'll also have usually, not always, but oftentimes they'll have a higher amount of body fat, which also leads to them being bigger. But usually, particularly because if they're a bigger person, there's more weight to carry. Usually a bigger person has bigger muscles, right? So that's why when someone who's a little bit bigger than you, might be same age, same income, same superannuation, if real ones get that. But they might be a little bit stronger than you, not because their muscles are better at working, just because their muscles are a little bit bigger due to their body having to move around the bigger structure. Okay, so if I'm 80 kilos, my legs will be big enough and strong enough to move around my 80 kilos. Okay, so my legs, they have to get bigger and stronger. If we talk about it from like a Greek myth standpoint, thank you, Cam Elliott. I believe it is. Oh, I can't remember his name. Let's say Theo. Theo and the bull. If you know the real name, please put it in the chat. But there's a tale of the man and the bull where every day he has the bull, right? Starts off as a calf. He carries the bull or carries the calf up the hill towards the market to try and sell it, right? Doesn't sell. First day, brings it back down. Day 2, takes it back up, right? Every day he does this for years and years and years, right? And so what we see happen is the bull grows, right? And so too does the man. So too does Theo, yeah? Because the bull is increasing in weight. It's increasing in stimulus to Theo. So his body has to grow in order to adapt to that, right? So if your body gets heavier, then your muscles need to get bigger and stronger to carry around the heavier object, okay? But when we look at someone like this, I'm sorry, I don't know her name, but relatively lightweight female, right, with 180 kilos on her back, okay? So if we look at Hathor Bjornsson, who's sitting at like, if you don't know him, he's the guy from Game of Thrones. He plays the Mountain, I think. He sits at like 140 kilos. Has this world's strongest deadlift, 501 kilos. Okay, that makes sense. But then how does such a little person, let's call her Kate in this picture, how does Kate at 60 kilos lift 6, 12, 18, 3 times her body weight so easily, right? And it's because her muscles have been primed better, okay? So motor units, so the bits in your muscle, essentially like the batteries, the energy producers, the motor units are recruited from smallest to largest. Okay, so if the muscle, so the body's like body's low-key lazy. If it has an easier way of doing something, it tends to do that, right? So if I have this pen, right, on my paper, my body already knows what that pen will roughly weigh. So it only uses, let's say, arbitrarily, 1% of my muscles. Okay. If I was to use all of my muscles, I would go pick it up and be like, that, right? Because it's perceiving it to be super, super heavy. Obviously, we know the pen's not heavy, pen's light, but it's perceiving it to be super, super heavy. So it's like, okay, this is a heavy object. I need to use a lot of muscles to pick this up. So I'm gonna have a very adverse or very quick reaction. Okay. So what someone like Kate in this instance has done is obviously she's restricted to a weight class for her sport. But what she's done is she's taken the muscles she has and taught the body or taught the muscles to use a lot more of those motor units. Okay. It's very, very rare. It's very, very unlikely that you'll ever use 100%. Because if we use 100%, then that is like driving a car super, super fast, right? If we drive a car super, super fast, it means that most likely crash. We're going to have really bad catastrophic effect, okay? Because there's nothing to slow us down. There's nothing to have a safety barrier. So if we use 100% of the muscles straight at once, because it goes from this to this, more often than not, they're going to snap because it's too much, too fast, too quick. Hence why it goes smallest to largest. So if I'm opposing a force, I'll start to resist. Cool. And it's like, oh, I can't get there. So that's where, I don't know if you've ever seen it in like watching other people lift, but if someone's ever grinding a rep, oftentimes they'll be like, push, 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 and they'll get to a stall point, and it's like, and then all of a sudden it's like, and then they might have another stall point, and it's like, and then they finish off. Okay. So what that is essentially is the body, let's use it as like an arbitrary scale. Outside of motion, the body's using 10% of the muscles. It's like, yeah, cool, I'm good. Oh, wait, I need more. 20, 30%, I'm here. Cool. Oh, 30% is not cutting a mil. 40, 50, 60 there. Okay. So because of the strength curve and like the resistance curve, obviously with squats and things, like it changes because like where the muscles are, where the muscle lengths are. So the body will try and use the right amount of muscles for the right amount of times. Okay. So obviously as you come down, we're pretty chill on a squat. As we pop up, we're quite elastic and we have that like elastic bounce potential. So we're pretty good. And then we kind of hit that bit out of the bottom and it's like, oh, now it's getting heavy. Let me try and put some more muscles on. Yep, cool, good. And then sometimes people have another sticking point. They're like, okay, need a little more muscles. Finish. Okay. So what Kate's done is she's taught her body how to use a lot more of those muscles. Whereas someone who's a little bit heavier, that person just knows how to use the amount of muscles to make them move their 100-kilo frame. Okay. Whereas Kate obviously has a 60-kilo frame, right? So her body knows how to do that. But over time, she's taught her body how to use more muscles, more motor units. So that now, not only can she move the 60 kilos of her frame, she can now put 180 kilos, 3 times her body on her back and move that as well. Okay. So mass doesn't necessarily move mass. Bigger muscles have a greater potential for force production, but you can adapt your muscles to be essentially more efficient, right? And that's what essentially Kate has done in this situation. Cool? Cool. Moving on. Is my internet really slow? Cool. Leg extensions are bad. This one was provided by John. John, if you don't know, is someone who's had like hip issues, knee issues, and one of the things he was taught when he was younger, particularly growing up, was that leg extensions are bad, hamstring curls are bad, right? And he was told this because they are repeated knee extension or knee flexion, depending on which one you're using. But it's constant knee bending, okay? So from that standpoint, it's essentially the joint is constantly bending, and there's this myth that a joint only has so many bends. I mean, like theoretically, yes, it does because like it'll stop eventually, but there's no like you have 100 bends in this elbow, so be careful. That doesn't exist. Leg extensions is actually very good exercise for the knee. We see them very commonly used in knee therapy and what's the word? Rehabilitation. So if someone has like an ACL tear or a quad tear or some sort of like knee injury, knee extension injury, quad injury, leg extensions are very often used as a tool for rehab because they provide a controllable environment where the load and the range of motion can be carefully manipulated over time, right? So if we compare the leg extension to a lunge or a squat, with the squat, we have downwards motion, upwards motion, we have balance, we have stability demands, we also have skill demands, we have technique aspects, we have load aspects, we have environment aspects. Okay. When we look at leg extension, we look at load, we look at range of motion, we look at force production. That's about it. Okay. So we look at a much simpler movement with much more controllable variables. Because we're not standing and we're not moving up and down in space, our whole body, there's a lot less going on as opposed to us sitting. Sorry, there's a lot more going on as opposed to us sitting down and just bending leg, extend leg, bend leg, extend leg. Cool. So reasons that it may hurt, there's a few, but it's more often the setup. So either the back seat, that's it. The seat behind you is too far back or too far forward, so it's putting extra stress where it shouldn't be. More often than not, we want it like suggested here, where the knee is able to lever down underneath the pad and then kick back up, but it still has the base of support underneath. That way. That way. So the knee can still bend fully and extend fully. Okay, but if I was to move the angle here, now my knee can bend, but it's got nothing to support it. So now my quad has to extend and my hips lift to then sit back down and kick up, right? So now it's putting a whole lot of stress on my knee. And if I move it here, there's a whole lot of stress on my knee and my shin because my knee can't bend over this lever. So it's just stressing that because it can't get there because there's the pad in the way, or the seat in the way. Okay, so setup. The weight you use, maybe it's lifting too heavy, overuse, so doing it too much in a week, and then with that, recovery. Maybe it's hurting because you're doing too much in a week, you're doing it 4 out of 5 sessions, and then 2, you can't recover from because you're doing it so often, right? So it does make sense that like the joint will get sore and like muscles will get sore because you're just doing it heavy and you're doing it poorly. So we want to make sure, just like everything, that we prioritize ourselves and make sure that we can get the most out of it. We can make sure we can be in a good position to do it, and we can make sure we're in a good position to recover from it. Okay. Leg extension is not bad. Yeah. Joints don't have X amount of bends. Cool. Sumo is cheating. Thank you, Julie. When we look at sumo, we look at the goal and the reason someone might be sumo. Reasons being, it might suit them better. They might have a better structure for it. They may be more anterior biased or quad biased, or they are trying to lift the most amount of weight possible from point A to point B. Right. So when we talk about powerlifting, the main goal, the only goal, the objective is to move the most amount of weight from point A to point B. Okay. Sumo is in the confines of the rules, so there's nothing that says you can't do sumo. People more so get annoyed because it's like, oh, you're doing that, but I'm doing this, but you're lifting more. That's not fair because I'm doing it this way. But just because you're doing it this way, it doesn't mean you can't do it that way, right? So just because someone's lifting more in a different way doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's cheating. It may be like unethical to you, to your opinion, because it's like not the same and it's like not what you deem as like fair. But since it meets point A of lifting the most amount of weight possible, it fits point B, is in the confines of the rule. The rules are that have been set. If it gets to a point where the rules change, then possibly sumo is cheating, much like the bench arch rule that's been put in play from IPF. That, well, not bench arch, but kind of bench arch. For those that don't know, in the IPF, so International Powerlifting Federation, which is like the world federation, the one that Brittany Romans is going to, and I'm going to for June, they now have a rule that the elbow must hit depth. Okay, so like how in a squat you must hit depth where the hip crease has to go below the knee joint, the same point where the elbow joint has to go below the shoulder joint. Okay, so you can't be like up here. Can't be up here, right? So see how my elbow is higher above my shoulder? Cool. So my elbow has to come down below my shoulder for that to be depth in the bench press, right? But no such thing is being spoken about, no such thing is being talked about, no such thing is being put into place for sumo. So sumo is still within the rules of the sport. So more than anything, people's biggest gripe with sumo is their sore ego because they can't do it, or someone else is lifting more, or they're jealous, I guess, of hip mobility. Okay, but at no point is it cheating. It's more so possibly unethical to you, but maybe more so that's just your sore ego coming through, and that's your defense mechanism. Cool. Quite often too, people who pull sumo will have a strong conventional. Like there's definitely usually a disparity, hence why someone's pulling sumo, but the disparity is quite often a lot less than you think. I would assume. Sweet. Do I have to feel sore? Okay. So quite often we've been told that if you're not sore from a workout, you didn't go hard enough, or it wasn't a good workout, or you just didn't push, right? But soreness in the body or in the muscle is more likely to come from new stimulus than intensity, right? So I'm sure a lot of us, when we get a new block, week one, we're super, super sore. That's the sorest week, right? But quite often we find that week one is the lightest week. So it's like the weight's not as heavy as it was week before, week 6, or end of the block, but I'm more sore now. How does that work, right? And quite often times in the new block, you've been given a few new exercises, right, that your body hasn't adapted to or gotten used to. So it's a new stimulus that's creating a soreness because the body is essentially not ready for these exercises. It wasn't aware of them. It wasn't prepared for them. Okay. So over the course of a block, we will see the body adapt. Hence why in week 6, you're not really as sore, or most likely not as sore, even though you are lifting heavier. Heavy weight can definitely still create soreness, and so too can high intensity. But it's more common and more often and more noticed that soreness occurs after a new stimulus. Okay, so if I've just done squats, leg extensions, hamstring curls, hip thrusts in my block, right? And I still have all 4, but now I've been given Bulgarians because I'm now in a unilateral stance, so I'm not bilateral, so I have one foot in front of the other, and there's a different motor pattern and different loading. I'm probably going to pull up pretty sore, even though all the muscles that I'm using in the Bulgarian are being used over here. There is no muscle used in a Bulgarian split squat that isn't used in a squat, deadlift, leg extension, hip thrust. I think that's one of it. But because it's different, because it's new, because it's a different pattern, a different setup, I'm going to pull up pretty sore just because my body's not used to it. The body is very smart. The body is very quick to adapt. And so that's how we grow, by adapting to a stress, a stimulus, and intensity. Hence why we want to try and lift heavier or get progress across the weeks, across the blocks. But it can only adapt to what it knows. It can only adapt to what it's being given, right? So if you keep chopping and changing, you'll feel pretty sore, but you most likely won't adapt. Therefore, you most likely won't grow or won't progress or won't succeed. Because everything's chopping and changing, the body doesn't know what to adapt to. It's like, stress, stimulus, don't know what's happening, I'm sore, I can't recover. Whereas if you have consistent stimulus, that increases intensity over time. The body knows, okay, a squat, I'm going to use this, that muscle. I'm going to use my quads, glutes, hamstrings. Okay. Today, the amount of quads, glutes, hamstrings I had wasn't enough. Let's say arbitrary numbers, just to give it contextual. I had 50. I had 50 quads, so I had 50 total volume. I had 50 that was split across quads, glutes, hamstrings for my squat. Okay. I did the squats, 50 wasn't enough. My body goes, okay, we need more. let's go make some more. Let's take some food, let's take some protein, let's take some water, and go make more. Coming to week 2, I had 55. Cool, I feel better. Wasn't enough. We're going to need a little more. Instead of going 55, because I'm not sore, it's going to go 57. Okay, week 3, 57. Cool, a little bit better. But for some reason, it was a little bit harder. Body doesn't know we increase weight. Body just knows intensity. So it's like, okay, we're not quite there. Let's add some more, and so on and so forth. Right? So week 1, it has what it has and doesn't know what it needs to adapt to until weeks 2, weeks 3, where the body learns, the body gets used to it, the body recognizes what it needs to adapt to, it recognizes where it's failing or where it's missing out, and it tries to fill those gaps. But not until the stimulus has been felt can the body adapt. So what we see and what we get is soreness or inflammation or tight muscles, because the body's like, whoa, did not expect this. Okay, let's go to the drawing board. What do we need next time? But there's like that initial lag, because it's just like you don't know what to prepare for. It's like we all get car insurance, right? Or we get house insurance, right? But until like, I don't know, the house caves in from rain, you go, oh, didn't know I needed that. Let me get that next time. So the next time you go prepared, even though the bad thing had to happen first. Okay, maybe not the best example, but hopefully it articulates across. Cool. Is no food bad food? Sorry, is no food bad food? No food is bad food. There is no bad food. No food is inherently bad. There are definitely foods that are better for you than others, and that are definitely deemed better for you. One thing we try and think about in this context is situational appropriateness. So for those of you here last time, I spoke about this last time, but if we're going to the gym and we're half an hour before going to the gym and we have a steak, we have 8 potatoes, we have a nice big salad. Okay. That very commonly is deemed as a good healthy meal, which it is. But the situational appropriateness probably isn't there, because we've got a whole lot of food, we've got a whole lot of food volume. We're half an hour for a session, so it's going to sit in our gut like a rock. We're going to feel terrible, we're going to feel bloated, we're going to feel slow. We're not going to have enough time to digest that food. Okay, so situational appropriateness isn't there. After a session, bloody oath, perfect, great. Maybe add some water, and you're set. But if we eat a bag of lollies, okay, quite often deemed as like, oh, don't have it, not good for you, don't have a lot of it, which all relatively true. But if you haven't eaten all day, or you're feeling like pretty low and you're half an hour before a session, smack a bag of lollies, quick, simple carbs, easy to digest, doesn't sit in you, bang, you're off to the races, you're having a great session. Okay, that's where situational appropriateness swaps. Whereas if we were having that for breakfast, probably not the best idea. Okay, so the questions to ask if you want to try and think about this a little bit more, a little bit deeper, is 1, what does this food give me? What's the macro breakdown? What am I going to get from it? How is that going to help me? Why am I having it? Am I having it because I just want it, which is okay? Am I having it because it's there? Am I having it because it's easy? Am I having it because I'm lazy? Am I having it because it's the right thing to have? And then 3, does it help my goals? Does having this cheeseburger right now help my goals? If my goal is to lose body weight, probably not. If my goal is to lift more weight and get heavier, probably. Okay. So if you can rationalize that in your head and feel okay with that, then go for it. There is no food that is good food or bad food. However, there are sometimes foods that will be better for you in that situation, in that scenario. Okay. So what does this food give me? What's the kind of nutrient? Does it have any protein in it? Am I going to get any micronutrients? Why am I having it? Am I having it because I'm hungry? Do I just need something? Am I about to go train and I need some food? Does it help my goals? How strong are your goals? What are your goals? does this food or does this act, doesn't have to be food realistically, could be anything. Does this align with me? Does this align with my goals? If you answer poorly on any of those three, I would probably reconsider what I'm having and then maybe think about what else I could have, because it doesn't sound like that's going to suit you very well. Cool. And then coming back to the initial point, situational appropriateness. Is this an appropriate food to have at this time? And then you can start to answer the other questions too. Does it help my goals? Why am I having it? What does this food give me? Okay. But if you can contextualize that food to tick, 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 then why is that food a bad food? Yeah, sure, maybe the macro breakdown isn't great. Maybe the macro breakdown is essentially poorer than a steak and salad, right? But everything in moderation. You're only human. You have cravings. You're allowed to have this stuff. You're allowed to have these foods. We're trying to find balance, okay? But maybe we just ask ourselves a few questions first. You probably won't do it every time. We don't expect you to do it every time. We don't expect you to go full cold turkey. I don't do that. I would never do that. I would never tell anyone to do that. That sucks. Who wants to do that? But there are definitely going to be times where we want to think, stop, reflect a little more. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but when I first started like training, one of the things I wanted to do was lose tummy fat. I wanted to lose my belly. I wanted to get a six pack. I didn't care about my chest. Didn't care about my biceps. Didn't care about my legs. I want to get six pack. Six packs were cool. They were in all the magazines. All the superheroes had them. All the cartoons had them. I was like, damn, that's sick. I want one of those. So how can I get rid of tummy fat? Google. How to get rid of tummy fat. Oh, do this. Right? But knowing what I know now, knowing what comes out, knowing the research, having a little better thinking, it's impossible to spot reduce. You can't pick a certain body part and just fix that part. Okay, you can grow certain muscles. So say if you're let's go abs. Say if your abs are lagging, you can put some emphasis into the abs and training the abs. And obviously, what we know about muscles is muscles grow when we give them stimulus. So if I'm constantly training abs, my ab muscle is going to get bigger. So they're going to get more predominant. So they may start to show more. But I can't lose the tummy fat just by doing abs. My abs may get more toned. They may get bigger. They may become more prominent and more visible. But the tummy fat around me hasn't changed. Okay. And how we liken this is, can you reduce water from a certain part of a lake, or certain part of a pool, or certain part of the ocean, or certain part of your cup, or your cup of tea, Kathleen? English breakfast. Too late for that. No, you can't. You have X amount of water. If you take a little bit of that water out, it doesn't come from that one spot, although you picked it up from that. It comes from the whole body. The whole body net reduces down. Same thing as fat. If your body fat drops down in your tummy, which it never will, it's because, you guys see that? That was good. My laptop is freaking out and trying to send emails right now. Are you back? 28:51. Have I frozen? No, that's so good. My laptop is full, wigging out right now. So we can't spot reduce. We can only total volume reduce. Same way as we can't reduce a certain part of water in the lake. We can only reduce the water in the lake as a whole. Okay. There will never be a point where we can get the spot. Maybe if I don't know, a doctor freezes off the fat. But realistically, if you freeze off fat in your arm, it'll be gone for 2-3 days. But then your body's going to go, hey, what the hell? Where did that fat go? Let me put that back. And it's going to go straight back there. Because the body sees it as imbalance. It sees what the hell? I had that there for a reason. That gives my arm insulation. That gives my, that's an even spot for my weight to be put up. It makes me more proportionate. Body going to go, what the hell? And he's going to put it straight back. So you can't spot reduce. You can't take a certain amount of fat away from area. But you can holistically reduce the fat, which then will in turn reduce the fat around a certain position or certain part. What you can do and like may help is look at increasing the volume or the muscle size of that area. Because if the muscle gets bigger, then the skin gets more stretched, so the muscle looks bigger or more prominent. But we can't take fat away from a certain spot, even no matter how bad we want to. Even if we froze it off, even if we had it surgically removed, the body's going to go, I'm just going to put that straight back. Cool. Okay. Carbs are bad. This was definitely something I heard growing up. My auntie and I did a whole year of no sugar because sugar was bad and carbs are bad. But what we learn now is that carbs aren't that bad. When we think about it from like an insulin response, it's definitely going to cause more insulin. But when we look at it from a macro breakdown, for 1 gram of carbohydrates, we get 4 calories. For 1 gram of fat, we get 9 calories. Okay. So it's all about how we deem good, how we deem bad. It definitely comes back to the 3 questions. Why am I having it? How is it helping me? Does it line with my goals? As well as 2, going back to the situational appropriateness. If I'm having a butt ton of carbohydrates before bed, is that a good idea? Probably not. The body prioritizes fat breakdown during periods of rest. So realistically, even though like I'm talking and like I'm moving my hands a lot, so like I'm using carbohydrates, I look like I'm in a italiano. But because I'm sitting down, my body's prioritizing fat. It knows that I don't need a whole lot of energy very quickly. So it's like, cool, I'm in a steady, calm environment. I can use fat because fat gives me 9 calories, correct? So it's more efficient to break down fat, but it takes a little bit longer. So if I don't need energy quickly, it's like, cool, let's use the bigger source because we have more time. But in terms of carbs, it definitely comes to quantities and qualities, as well as situational appropriateness. Situational appropriateness is a big thing, not just in food, but a lot in food, just in life. If it's appropriate for the situation, then you're sweet. But there are certain times where the appropriateness is higher and lower. Okay, so quantities we want to be looking at. Am I having a whole lot? Am I having a whole lot at a certain time that's maybe poor? And then qualities. Am I just having pure sugar? Yeah, I have 400 carbs for the day and 300 of them are sugar. They're simple. Is that probably good for you? No. Is it bad for you in the long term? Maybe. It's going to be like a whole lot of sugar. It's not going to be good for your skin. It's not going to be good for your digestive system. It's not going to be good for your energy production or insulin spikes. So in that instance, sure, maybe carbs aren't the best. But qualities can change. So if I'm having 400 grams of carbs and I'm having 100 grams of sugar, simple carbs, 300 grams of complex carbs, breads, pastas, wheats, rices, flours, etc., then what's the problem? Where is it? Where's the light? There is no light. We're good. We're sweet. But coming back, 3 questions. Why am I having it? How does it help me? Does it align with my goal? Cool. And then the 4th one is it appropriate? Correct. Is it an appropriate time to be having it? Is it appropriate to be doing it now? Is this an appropriate amount of quantity? Is this an appropriate amount of quality? Okay. If you can contextualize that, same way that no food is bad food, carbs aren't bad. I love carbs. I'm a slut for carbs. I would rather have more carbs than fat, personally. Plus, when I'm training or when I'm walking Nala or when I'm throwing stuff at you, I'm going to use carbs. Carbs are the quick energy system. They're the ability for me to be up and down. If any of you have seen Jacob on his rest days or on his non-training days where he has 0 carbs, he's a lot less energetic. And that's just simply because his body doesn't have the facilities or the ability to give him that energy to be up and about Jacob. However, on his training days, Jacob, normal Jacob, up and about, throws about. He's definitely having less calories, so it's a little bit less, but he's good. He's sweet. His body has the energy. He has the ability to be him. He can be his comical self. He can be more expressive. He can be more energetic. But bloody hell, at 8 p.m. on a freaking Monday, don't go near Jacob. To be fair, he's probably asleep because he has no energy. But no brainer. Cool. Stretching before a workout. Definitely something that has been spoken about a lot. People go back and forth, thinking it's good, thinking it's bad, thinking they should, thinking they shouldn't. What we need to kind of think about and determine uh, is what kind of stretching we're doing. Okay. So in this instance, I'm going to talk about static stretching, static versus dynamic. If we think of a static stretch, we could think of this guy holding this position, right? So he's doing a lunge, but he's obviously trying to push or aggressively drive the knee forward, which is going to stretch the quad. Cool. But he's not going to change that position for a while. He's going to sit and hold it. And he's just going to try and work on pulling the muscle apart to make it longer, to make it less tight. Okay. As opposed to if he was to do a light jog or maybe like a dynamic lunge. So it goes from one lunge to the other. We might see better benefits. But the issue with a static stretch is it can weaken performance and it can essentially tire out the muscle. Okay. So if I have a rubber band, right, and I do have a rubber band. Hell yeah. All right, I got a rubber band. Cool. I did the wrong way. Got a rubber band, right? This is my muscle currently. I'm going to come nice and close. Get up and personal, guys. This is my muscle currently, okay? I'm going to stretch that muscle statically. Okay. Did I achieve what I wanted to achieve? Yes, the muscle is longer, right? But just because the muscle is longer doesn't mean it's going to help me more with my demands, with my squat, with my jumps, with my things. Because this muscle has now lost a whole lot of elastic potential because it's now here as opposed to here, right? See how far I pulled that out, right? But what would happen if I pulled this band now? Keep in mind that it's pretty freaking tight. Cool. I use my middle fingers, not realize. If I pull this anymore, this band is going to snap. Okay. So if I stretch my muscles to the full capacity, then they're super, super long, which, yes, means they have a whole lot of ability to shorten, right? But they also are very likely to snap. I don't worry, it's going to snap. It's like my pet peeve. Okay. So we need some sort of tightness. Tightness isn't bad. If tightness is impeding performance, it's probably not great. It's causing you pain, also not great. But I need my muscles to be tight because I need my muscles to be strong. I need them to be elastic. I need them to give me potential or force production. Okay, so I need them to go from here to bang, 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 bang. So I'm squatting. I'm here. I start loading my patterns, and then I'm in. Coming down, going up, coming down, going up. So this elastic potential, right? Same thing with my muscles. If I move my muscles to being out here, then I don't have as much elastic potential because it doesn't want to go short. So I need my muscles to be relatively tight. I need them to be shorter because it's not a bad thing. Because that means that they can be more responsive and give me more sprint. Right? If I stretch the muscle, then it's really close to snapping. It's really pulled apart. Not a whole lot of force production that can occur. So instead of doing static stretching, like Tom is doing here, can't know what the names. What do we got? We got Tom and Kate and Thea. We want to look at doing activations. We want to look at doing dynamic warm-ups. We want to be looking at doing preparations. Okay, activations being like my ability to externally rotate. Okay, let's do arm. I was going to do good, but you can see on my arm. If I tilt this down a bit. My ability to externally rotate, which is this, my shoulder, is limiting my ability to get into bench press. Okay, so what I might do is do some external rotations under a light load, right, to activate my mind and my body and my muscles to know that at the moment I feel like I can only get here, right? But the more I do it, the better I get at it, and then go from here to here. Cool. And so I've activated the mind muscle connection. I've activated the neural pathway. So now my muscles and my body knows that there's actually a whole lot more range here. So I've gone from here being really stiff and like, oh, I don't feel good, to being like, oh, look at all this extra range that I can now play with. So now when I come down to my bench press, I don't have that same like impingement or pain. Okay. That's what we're trying to achieve. That's what we're trying to look at. That's what we're trying to move towards. Activations, preparations. We want to prepare ourselves for the task at hand, for the task to come, so that then we can have a positive outcome. Cool. All right. Deadlift broke my back. No good. Possibly the back got sore from deadlifting, which makes sense. What are the main joints? What are the main muscles? What are the main movement patterns we're using in deadlift? Yeah. Load is going to cause loading in the back. It's going to cause hinging. It's going to cause the erectors, the lats, all those kind of back muscles to work. What do we know when we work a muscle? Sometimes you get sore. What do we know from stimulus? New stimulus is more likely to cause soreness than intensity. Okay. If I have never done deadlift, right, and like I pick things up because I'm human, I pick things up before, but if I've never done like a 5x5 deadlift, hell yeah, my back's gonna be sore. I'm using the muscles. That makes sense. But a lot of time we hear, and a lot of time people fear that if I deadlift, I'm going to bulge a disc, right? But disc bulge from a compression expansion model, right? So if we look at the spine here, right, we see evenness across it. Hopefully you can see my mouse. Hang on. If I go to chat, it works. Cool. All right. Oh, Hayden's here. All right, I'm moving my mouse. Can someone say if they can see me moving my mouse, please? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. I'm going to assume yes if it's not a no in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cool. I'm going to assume it's yes. Full screen. Oh, damn, I didn't want that. That's too full screen. Okay, go back. Oh, you can't see my mouse. Okay. All right, here's my wallet. Okay. This wallet represents one of those discs or one of those spine columns. So if I'm doing my deadlifts, right, I'm going to come forward. I'm going to come backwards. Forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards. So we're pretty straight. We're pretty neutral. We're in a happy spot. Okay. Only when I have a significant compression on one side, right? Let's do that. Where for some reason I've twisted or I've bent, right? That then my disc will pop out. Okay. So if I have them here, they're happy. We're working 50-50, but only until we get my earbuds cut. Only until we get 80-20, where there's pushing down on one side and expansion on another side, is when that disc will bulge. If you guys were like me and you're younger and you had like one of those squeezy balls or a stress ball, and I would squeeze it and then it would like pop out, right? That's essentially what's happening. I'm applying a whole lot of stress and force on an uneven playing field that it pops out one side. Okay, so that's what's happening with the back in regards to a bulging disc. Because deadlift is just down and up, and hopefully with technique is good, it's highly unlikely for it to occur, but the back is likely to get sore just from repeated use and the muscles working. Okay, so this is where it comes to the point of technique is really important. Technique is more important than weight, particularly at certain loads, particularly as you start to get into it. But it's very, very unlikely from a standpoint that you will bulge disc from a deadlift as long as your technique is solid. It is more likely and more common that people bulge a disc at home when they go to pick something off the floor or when they're playing with a kid, because A, they're not aware of like what they're doing, not B, they're not present in the motion that they're completing. If you're at the gym, you know you're doing a deadlift. You're aware you're doing a deadlift. You're aware you're running. You're aware of what you need to do. That's your focal point. But if you're at home and you're having a conversation with your partner and you go to pick something off the floor and it's heavier than you think it is, there's all of a sudden a twist of my body to go down because I'm being lazy and it's like pick it up, and then all of a sudden it's a lot heavier, and then because I've compressed my right side and expanded my left, the disc is like, oh, too much pressure, pop, and it's like, okay. So technique is great in the weight, particularly if you're new, particularly if it's something that you're trying to get used to, particularly if you're someone that has had like issues like that in the past. But it's very, very unlikely the deadlift's going to break your back. Yes, your back may get sore. Yes, it's most likely getting sore from new stimulus. Didn't even talk shit about you, man. I just mentioned you. But yeah, memories lost my train of thought. Cool. A week off destroys your gains. I'm going on holiday. I'm going to Bali. I'm really sad. I'm going to lose all my muscle. I'm going to lose my strength. Realistically, we know this isn't true. We know that muscle is loyal. We know that maybe when we get back, things are going to feel harder or different or unlike they did before. But we're not going to lose it. Yes, it is true. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. But that's over a long period of time. And then when we contextualize and think about it from a bigger scheme of things or a broader scheme of things, how long did it take you to get to where you are? How long did it take you to put on this muscle? Right? For me, it's taken me like, I've been training for 10 years. Yeah, damn a lot. I've been training for 10 years. Not all it's been weights, not all it's been like in the gym, but I've been training for 10 years. So for me to lose all this muscle or all the work I put in or all the strength I put in, I think it's going to take a little bit longer than a week. I think it's going to take a little bit longer than a month. I think it's going to take a little bit longer than 6 months. Particularly too, if I'm not, what's his name? If I'm not Tom Hanks on Castaway, stuck on an island with no food, no shelter, no water, and I can still eat and I can still walk and I can still provide nutrients to my muscles and my body, I'm going to have a lot longer. If I don't have adequate nutrition and adequate nutrients and things, yeah, that deterioration may be quicker because my body's like, I have nothing to break down apart from all this big juicy muscle you put on, Jack. Good job. It's going to take a long while. And the biggest thing and best thing we do to tell people and reaffirm that is how long did it take you to get to where you are? How long did it take you to put on all this muscle? How hard did you work to put on all this muscle? Do you really think that if it took you this long to put all that on, that it's just going to drop off in a week? Hell no. That's not how it works. If you filled a lake, think about how long it took to fill that lake. And then all of a sudden there's a leak in the lake. You think it's just going to drain in a week? Nah. So same thing again. But we would expect things to feel hard. We would expect things to feel different. We may have lost some conditioning or like some routine. So there's like a little bit jarring. The body may have gone, oh, this stimulus isn't coming in. I don't need to be prepared for it next week. Right? Because that hasn't happened. Until it's like, oh, actually, I was wrong. I do. Let me go put those nutrients. Let me go put those things in place to help. Okay. But so true that it doesn't take you a week to get to your ideal fatigue or a week to put on all these gains. You're not going to lose in a week. All right. Sweating equals weight loss. Okay. There are many factors that play into sweating. There are many things come into play. Things like genetics, things like age, things like weight, things like fitness level, things like environmental factors. Okay. You may just be a sweatier person. I know when I played basketball, I'm a freaking sweaty person. I had to bring towels to those games. And I'm not talking towel. I'm talking towels. Hayden bought me a freaking towel from Japan when he went because I get so sweaty. Like I sweat like nuts when I'm like running like that. Age is going to have a factor. You may just be poorer at regulating temperature or regulating your body temperature when you're a little bit older because your body's a little bit less efficient. So you might sweat a little bit more because your body's like, I need to cool down fast because I'm not used to this. Right? But when you have a healthy fluid cardiovascular system, the body can move around the body easily, quickly, then you probably won't sweat as much. Weight, if you're a little bit heavier, it requires a little more effort to move your body. So you might sweat a little more. The body has to work a little bit harder. Makes sense. If you're a little bit fitter than someone, they're probably not going to sweat as much. Someone who's doing their 10th marathon and someone who's doing their first marathon probably aren't the same fitness level. So they're probably going to have different energy demands, different sweat demands. The person who's doing 10 times, the body knows what's happening. The body understands it. It's been here before. It's done it before. It knows when to sweat. It knows what's happening. Whereas person one doing the first marathon doesn't really know what's happening. Like it's obviously trained and prepared, hopefully. But it's like, this is new. I didn't know I needed this much. Or I don't know, I feel this hot. Let me try and cool down. So I'm going to increase my sweat. Okay. The body is essentially just less efficient. It's more unknown. It's more uncertain as to what's happening. So it's trying its best, but it doesn't understand the situation, doesn't understand the context, doesn't understand the circumstances. Cool. And then environment factors. If I'm doing a 10K run, Lord help me, first off. But if I'm doing a 10K run in 30 degrees Celsius and a 10K run in 15 degrees Celsius, which one I'm going to sweat in? I'll sweat more in, sorry. 30. It's hotter. It's hot in this MF. It's hot in this bitch. I can't breathe. Or poor ventilation. If I'm stuck in a stuffy room and it's just like me and my heat, yuck, bad. There's no cool air coming in. There's no external factor or environmental factor outside cooling me down because I have no ventilation. I'm stuck in a stuffy room as opposed to me being outside. So I'm going to sweat a lot more. The whole temperature of the room is going to get hot. It's got hot in here. Take off all your clothes. That's the vibe, right? So if I'm in a 30-degree weather and 15-degree weather, hell yeah, I'm going to sweat a whole lot more than 30 degrees. It's hot. My body needs to cool down, right? So just because you're sweating doesn't necessarily mean that session is better than another. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're losing weight. Theoretically and essentially, yes, you are losing weight because you're losing water weight. But as soon as you rehydrate, as soon as you drink water, it's going to go straight back up, right? So just because you're sweating a lot doesn't mean that you're losing weight. There's a whole lot of reasons why you could be sweating. Okay. Lifting heavy weights makes women bulky. Cool. For some reason, there seems to be this disconnect between female gains and male gains. Men will work tirelessly for years to achieve their physique they're happy with. Do you think Chris Bumstead just woke up like that? Or Ronnie Coleman? Or Jackson just woke up like that? Or he looked at a weight or he lifted a little bit heavy once? No. It took him years. It took them all years. It took them heaps of repetition, heaps of cycles of training, of blocks, of intensity to get them where they're at. But for some reason, there's certain women and certain groups that think if a woman goes to the gym once, goes to free weights, she's going to turn into the new Arnold Schwarzenegger, just like that. You've seen bloody Ben go to the gym for 4 years and he still doesn't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, even though he might be trying. He's like making good progress. He still doesn't look like that. It's been 4 years. And his body is more adapted to putting on muscle. His body is ready to put on the muscle. He has enough testosterone in the male physique, in his body to facilitate that. Obviously, females still have testosterone, but they have a little bit less. So a little bit less able to, or it's a little bit harder. Doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means their genetic compound's a little bit different. But all of a sudden, if they go to the gym for a week and lift weights, they're going to get manly. Like what is that disconnect? Where is that aligning? Are women the same in like genetic breakdown? No. So that's one thing to pay for. Testosterone is a little bit lower in females. Progesterone is a little bit higher in females. But all of a sudden, if a woman goes to the gym and lifts heavy, she's going to get a rapid increase in gains compared to Ben, who's been pushing for 4 years. It's like, how does that make sense? When we start to contextualize it and rationalize it, it doesn't. And a lot of the time, too, we find that the diet isn't in place. So there's not enough protein, there's not enough carbohydrates, calories as a whole. So then, furthermore, there's less of a environment to grow that muscle. Okay. So just because you're a woman doesn't mean you're going to put on a whole bunch of muscle. That's because you're a man doesn't mean you're going to put a whole bunch of muscle. It takes effort. It takes the right environment. It takes a lot of hard work. Okay, no matter the sex. Just because you're one or the other doesn't mean it's just going to happen overnight. Believe me, I wish it would, and I'm sure a lot of us would, if it would just take a week and we could have the physique that we've dreamed of. That would be great. But unfortunately, not quite. Cool. My scale weight didn't change which means I didn't lose weight. Okay. Essentially, yes, your mass did not change. Okay. But just because the weight on the scale didn't change doesn't mean you didn't have a great week. Doesn't mean you didn't make progress. Right. There's this term called body recomposition, right? Where we're the same weight, but that weight is broken down differently. So if I'm 80 kilos and I have 40 kilos of fat and 40 kilos of muscle, right? Obviously, there's a lot more going on. But 40 kilos fat, 40 kilos muscle, I weigh 80 kilos. Next week, I have 38 kilos of fat, 42 kilos of muscle, right? Same scale weight, same number, same age, same super. Who would have thought I'd do that twice? But I look different. I feel different. I move different. I perform different. I am different, right? Just because the scale weight didn't move doesn't mean I haven't made progress. Doesn't mean that it wasn't a good week. Doesn't mean that I'm not moving in the right direction. Okay. So certain other things that we want to think about are performance. Am I doing better? Am I performing better? Am I training better? Am I getting stronger? That's a win. Although the scale weight didn't change, that's a win. Am I looking different? Am I looking better? Am I looking more muscular? Just because my scale weight didn't change doesn't mean my body fat has been reduced and I've become more lean, right? Muscle getting bigger though, which means that they're taking extra weight. That's win. If I'm losing fat and building muscle, I'm happy as bloody lag. Even though my weight didn't change, like my physique is getting better, my breakdown is getting better. So there's more wins to be had than just scale number. Okay, so that's why we try and take photos. That's why we try and look at performance metrics. That's why I try to look at energy levels, libido, stress, things like that. All these things provide context, right? Less so or more so than the scale weight does. Okay, with how much the body can fluctuate, stress, food timing, food types, water, sleep. There's so much that goes into your body weighing what it weighs that it's a really, 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 really good tool to track progress over a long period of time. But if you're aware, Jake and I would never never get you to track one day and take it super, super seriously. It would never be your weighing day is Monday. Okay, what that Monday represents is your progress. Okay, we would track the entire week or as much of the week as we can, so then we can get a net average because of those fluctuations, and then we would take that number and compare it to the number we got last week, or the week before, or the week before that, or the month before that, or the year before that. Okay, so try and look for more context, try and look for more data to get a truer percentage or a truer average. Okay, so just because the scale weight doesn't change doesn't mean it was a bad week, doesn't mean you didn't lose weight, or doesn't mean you didn't lose fat or get leaner or move towards your goals. It just means that maybe something else changed. Maybe there was a reason. Maybe you are gaining more muscle and just losing fat. Okay. And then this is the last one I have. So if you have any that you've been sitting on through this chat or have any questions, please put in the chat, either here or WhatsApp. I will look at both. But calorie counters are 100% accurate. I feel like every second person in the gym nowadays has some sort of smartwatch, whether it's an Apple Watch, a Garmin, a Samsung, a BlackBerry, a Wally Wally Bliss Bomb. I don't know. A lot of people have them, right? And although they're really good to provide a rough estimate, they will never be perfect. They just aren't good enough. Who knows? Maybe one day they will. But like, do you really think you're going to get all the data 100% accurate just from something on your wrist? No. Even heart rate is less accurate. Like your heart is here. It's on your chest. Why would something down on your wrist be 100% accurate when your heart is here? Cool. So that's why we see a chest strap or a chest heart rate monitor being a lot more accurate because it's like right near the source. It's going to have less. You ever play Chinese whispers? Like I'm starting with Jacob. And I'm telling him Zach Bryan is the best, and then it gets over all the way down to Tyson, and all of a sudden it's Zach Bryan. I think someone else. Fisher is the worst, right? Like there's more things that can happen along that pathway. There's more roadblocks. There's more of a highway. There's more of a length. There's more of a distance. That some things can get lost in translation. Okay, so if I have something down in my watch, but I'm eating all my food up here, I'm digesting all my food down here, I'm moving my body everywhere, right? Yes, it can track heart rate. Yes, it can track my movement roughly, but it's never going to be 100% accurate. However, they do give context. They do give data. They do provide an average like we do with the bodyweight scales. of like a higher session, a lower session, a higher week, a lower week. But take it with a grain of salt. It's never going to be super, super accurate. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be 100% true. But say if you do session 1, day 1 on Monday, and you burnt 400 calories, and then come into week 2, day 1, next Monday, you do the same session, but maybe the calorie is different. Okay, maybe that means something, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you just exerted yourself a little bit more because you're more tired, or maybe you have more energy. Okay, so take it with a grain of salt. Realistically, tracking calories across an average will always be best to provide you with that context to see whether things are happening, things are changing, rather than a calorie counter or a heart rate monitor, things like that. But they definitely do still have the time and place ability to help. Cool. Sweet. All right. I'm going to open chats. If you have any questions or anything, please shoot it through. But hopefully you enjoyed. Good towel. Oh, yeah, good towel. I had to think. Keen, yay, my ego hurts. Sorry. Rationalize me a donut. If I'm going to the gym and I am at 7-Eleven and I have, 10 minutes before the gym, maybe a donut's okay because it's quick, it's easy, it's palatable. I can smack it. If I'm bulking, right, and I'm trying to eat 5,000 calories a day, and I've gotten to the end of the day, I've eaten all my food, and I just don't want to eat anything. If I see another meal of beef and rice, I'm going to burn the house down. Okay, but I still need my calories. What's something that's going to be highly palatable, highly satiable, higher in calories than beef and rice? Donut. I could smack easily a 12-pack of Krispy Kreme any day of the week, anytime. See, there's people that like stack them all on top and just push them, and there's like one big. Oh, I would demolish that, right? And there's, I don't know, 2,400 calories, just like that. So if I can smack that in, I'm pretty happy. Talking shit, live in the next room, cool, cool. Beef and rice we didn't tonight. Hey, I thought we were having ravioli. Oh well, I'm so happy. Cool, sweet, nice. All right, I'll give another minute. Anyone has anything, please shoot it through. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. Hopefully, you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions or anything that you want spoken about in the future, any other topics, can't believe I spoke for an hour. Damn, and you guys listened. Crazy. Uh, yeah, if you have any topics that you want to talk about in the future, I think Kathleen gave me this one, or we spoke about it with her. So thank you, Kathleen. Very good one. But if you have anything else in the future, let us know. Shoot it through. Otherwise, hope you all have a great night, a great weekend. Enjoyed your day. I will see you soon. I'll see you when I look at you. Don't stay up too late. Eat dinner. Drink some water. Bye bye.